In America, 80,000 prisoners are locked up in solitary confinement. They spend months, sometimes years, alone.
This place is like an insane asylum.
Thoughts of suicide come a lot.
This film goes inside the punishment wing of a maximum security prison.
You can't get yourself wound up because you can't leave that room.
It's home to violent criminals and to young prisoners on the brink of madness.
It's like being buried alive.
But this prison has a new boss who thinks solitary confinement is making inmates more dangerous.
Most people would say, well, if you punish them, you're going to make them better. The reality is the exact opposite happens.
I would kill one of your inmates.
This is the story of one man's effort to reform a supermax prison.
You can have them do their whole time in segregation, but I don't want them living next to me when you release them.
And to rehabilitate some of America's most dangerous criminals.
Try to be normal again.
In the state of Maine, on America's northeast coast, is a maximum security prison. It's home to the worst prisoners in the state. It's a dangerous place. 4 inmates have been murdered here in the last 5 years, and assaults on prison staff are frequent. The segregation unit is the prison within the prison. Inmates here spend 23 hours a day in their cells. They get an hour of exercise in a cage. Some are here long term because they're judged too dangerous to be around other people. Some are here for their own protection. And some are here as punishment for disruptive behavior.
I'm Adam Brulot, 10/28/17. I've been in prison since November 28th of 2012. I broke a kid's jaw in 7 places with 1 punch. I landed me an aggravated assault. That 1 punch landed me in here.
Adam Brulot is 21. His crimes on the outside are low level. He's doing 18 months for assault after a fight at a party. But in prison, he's a disruptive and volatile inmate. He's just tried to attack an officer, so he's been sent to segregation, or seg, as the inmates call it.
I just went overboard, freaked out, started punching stuff, threw chairs, screaming, and I got maced and tackled. They're trying to say I started a riot. I've been down here 2 days now. Well, it's good to my standards. And I'm always at this window, so I like the window to be clean. My face touches it, my hands touch it. I like seg. I can handle being locked down 23 hours a day because I can read, I can write, I can do push-ups. Most of the time I just chill. You gotta relax. You can't get yourself wound up because you can't leave that room. Yeah, it sucks, but I think I'm doing good.
Brulot faces 3 months in solitary. It promises to be a grueling experience. It's Friday night on the solitary unit. Some of these inmates have been locked up in here for months, even years.
Here it is.
Almost every night they mount a protest. They've flooded their cells and poured bodily fluids under the doors. Some have managed to smuggle in razor blades. Now one inmate has covered his window so the officers can't see in. The officers think the inmate may have been self-harming, cutting himself.
I have 3 windows covered right now, and one of them appears to be self-abusive. I've attempted to look through the tray slot to see if I can get a visual on him, and he's got it covered with a mattress. If I can't see him from the back window, we're going to have to go in and take him out for his own safety.
Inmates are forbidden from covering their windows in the solitary unit. They could be bleeding to death, or it could be a trick to lure the officers in and assault them.
He's got it all covered. So now we have to pull him out.
All right, gents, whenever you're ready to rock and roll.
611 to A2. You have a large box. Get the shield
The officers often have to forcibly extract inmates from their cells.
Any questions at this time? We're ready to go ahead and do a cell extraction.
You know you gotta come out. There's a smart way to do this. This is not it.
All cell extractions are filmed in case prisoners later try to sue.
Monsters. This is what they create in here, monsters. And then they drop you into society and tell you, go ahead, be a good boy. You can't conduct yourself like a human being when they treat you like an animal.
Nights like this are routine in the solitary unit. Officers regularly use pepper spray to extract self-harming inmates from their cells.
This place is like an insane asylum. I don't even know how many times I've seen this tier filled with blood from these guys cutting their arms and their necks. All types of craziness, and it's because they're stuck in here with nothing to do.
Gordon Perry is doing life without parole for murdering a police officer. He's in solitary for stabbing another inmate with a screwdriver. He's been here for more than a year, longer than any other prisoner in the unit.
If you don't have a strong mind, this place can break you quick. A lot of guys, they don't even have reasons why, they just snap out. That's what this place does to you. It makes you mean, makes you violent, and it fucks a lot of people's heads up. This is solitary confinement.
I've seen a number of inmates become extremely self-abusive during their time in segregation. You know, they have no control of anything else, so they'll cut, they'll smear feces, they'll attempt to hang themselves. For the normal person who doesn't work in a facility like this, they're going to be thinking, if you punish him, you're going to make him better. And the reality is the exact opposite happens.
Maine is one of a few American states trying to reform its prisons by cutting down the use of solitary. The prison has a new warden who has a radical plan.
I want you out on the other side of that door, because that's good for you to be on this side of the door and not that side. And you can hold me accountable.
It's really dangerous, okay? If I have somebody that comes in with a 5-year commitment, you can have them do their whole time in segregation, but I don't want them living next to me when you release them.
The warden can't just let everyone out. The inmates in solitary are unpredictable and dangerous.
So what's going to happen when they release you in 5 months? You going to come right back?
Hopefully not, I know.
Well, if you act like that, you're going to.
Instead, he wants to reform them and return them to the main part of the prison, known as general population.
Take him for a walk upstairs.
I think we need to make every attempt at moving them out of those cells and moving them into general population. On the surface, it might look crazy, but the reality is 80% of these inmates are going to be hitting the street. Okay, so we can either make them worse, okay, and create more victims when they go on the street, or we can rehabilitate them. I have a young man down there right now. He's leaving in January, okay? Do we want him to leave from segregation to go into the community? That's crazy. That's crazy.
Stephen Kirkley is doing a 2-year sentence for robbery and will be released to the street in just 6 months. He's one of the most disruptive inmates in the prison. When he's around other prisoners in the general population wing, he gets into fights. When he's in solitary, he cuts himself with razor blades.
I got about 10, 11 more of those placed throughout my cell. I brought them down for everybody, but might use one tomorrow for my birthday. Tie my arm off and just cut the vein. I don't do it to hurt myself, but I do it, and basically just to let them know I'm capable of doing it.
The officers know that Kirkley is a cutter, so they do regular shakedowns on his cell. This time they don't find his razors. But Kirkley mounts a protest about the invasion of his space.
Can you uncover your window and talk to me? If you don't uncover, chemical agents are going to be applied.
What are you planning to do?
Get distracted.
Why?
Because I woke up this morning and I went to medical and I came back. Everything in my room was messed up. Plus today's my birthday and this is a way to celebrate.
For Kirkley, life in solitary has become a game. He provokes the officers into extracting him almost every day.
Let's know when you want to cuff up. Out of the window.
Inmates told me as soon as I left my cell, they was in there fucking my shit up. As soon as I left. Like I said, if I feel disrespected, I'm gonna do what I gotta do.
The new warden tries to deal with disruptive inmates like Kirkley in person.
So what do we got to do to move you ahead?
I don't know.
How old are you?
21.
21. So what do you think you need to do to go back into general population?
I'm not even gonna try. It doesn't matter if I get released from here or out there. It's still getting released from prison.
You're gonna stay in your cell?
If that's what it's gonna take for my shit not to get ripped apart, I'm not going nowhere. I'm not going to no programs. I'm not doing no programs. I won't go to rec. It doesn't matter to me.
Okay, that's a choice that you're gonna make.
We done?
With Kirkley, he's a challenge. The onus is on us to find the right approach to figure out how we're going to change it. Somehow we're missing something. We're missing the way to get to that young man. And if we don't get to that young man and do what we need to do, we're going to make him worse before he goes back into the community.
Next door to Kirkley is an inmate who's been in and out of solitary confinement for more than 20 years, Peter Gibbs.
Hey, how long, Theo? How long have I been standing here asking to speak with the warden?
I'll talk to him, okay? I'll talk to him, all right, Peter? You need to stay calm and I'll talk to him, okay?
See how easy it is to get upset? See that?
All right.
I strangled the correctional officer and hid him under my bed, and then another one came in the pod and I knocked him out and dragged him into a utility closet and beat his head in with a mop wringer. And so I've been in prison a long time. That was when I was 16.
The officers survived Gibbs' attack, but he's still regarded as one of the most dangerous inmates in the solitary unit. He's currently serving a 20-year sentence for a string of armed robberies. Now he's demanding a transfer to another prison to be closer to his family, and he's threatened to murder the warden if he doesn't get it.
We've met before. I explained my situation. I will assault, attack, stab, do whatever I have to do to get out of your facility. I will kill one of your inmates. I don't have nothing to lose. I want out of here. My children can't come see me. I'm not rich. We're not rich, you know? So they don't have the money to come here, you know?
So Mr. Gibbs, what do we need to do to get out of this hole that we're in, okay?
I need to be medicated.
Okay, and what did I say?
That makes me sociable.
Okay, I'm gonna follow that up. You can't keep on threatening to kill me. If you're threatening to kill me, you know, I'm probably not gonna let you out of this room. And if you threaten to kill anybody, one thing about you, Mr. Gibbs, that I know is you're good for your word, right?
I thought it would get me back to New Hampshire. I thought, if you tell them we don't want Mr. Gibbs here, they have to take me back.
They don't have to take you back.
Then I'll homicide one of your inmates, and then you guys can do what you...
do, let me finish, is they'll make arrangements for you to go from here to another state. New Jersey, Maryland,
No,
something like
Jersey's
that.
refused me. Rhode Island's refused me because of my mental health issues.
It seems to me that you'd like to see your wife and your two daughters.
That's
and
the
it
most
seems to
important
me
thing.
that you'd like to get back out in general population. What we're gonna
As long
do,
as somewhere down the road we can convince New Hampshire Mr. Gibbs is doing unreal, he's changed, and maybe take me back.
look, what I can control is what I'm gonna talk about. I can't control New Hampshire. What I can control is how do I move Mr. Gibbs out of the seg unit, okay? How can I get Mr. Gibbs an opportunity to make money to send his wife so she can come visit him? How can we work together so that Mr. Gibbs can move out of the seg unit so he can get his TV, okay? Those are the, you know, you start with baby steps, right?
Well, what are you looking at for like a time period? Can you start giving me some stuff in my cell maybe? Like, that crochet program was very important to me.
I'm not ready to put a crochet hook in your hand right now. You know what I'm saying? Nice chatting with you.
The senior prison staff are concerned about the idea of ever moving Gibbs out of solitary.
He's a long way from my perspective, because I have to be in that pod. Any one of us can be in general population with this guy. So I don't want to see someone die, an officer die, because we're trying to kind of get him settled as we wait for New Hampshire.
This is going to be a process.
Yep.
The US has a higher percentage of its population in prison than any country in the world, almost 5 times that of England and Wales. Solitary confinement was first introduced here in the 1800s as an experiment to see if isolation would reform criminals. It was soon abandoned because prisoners didn't reform. They lost their minds. But the practice was reintroduced in the 1980s in an effort to reduce widespread prison violence. Now, America has 80,000 inmates in isolation, more than any other country. Research suggests that prisoners in solitary are 6 times more likely to kill themselves than other inmates, and 7 times more likely to self-harm. "21-year-old Adam Brulot has been in solitary confinement for 4 weeks now. He was confident he could handle it, but he started to fixate about what will happen when he leaves prison.
Yeah, I got hardcore ADD and I'm about to leave in 5 months. I don't know where I'm gonna go. I don't know where I'm gonna work. I don't know how I'm gonna get a car. I still got $1,000 to pay with no car, no job. When you settle down in your room and you really just start thinking, just bang, 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 all at once. This really kind of fucks with my head. Just trying to get some medication to slow that down for now, but.
Brulot has now begun to cause trouble in the unit.
Why are you pissed off?
They're fucking with people's portions.
Oh! Scumbag! That's $1 million shot!
Oh, it's war!
That night, the unrest escalates.
So what is all this stuff on the floor?
Probably urine and toilet paper and food.
Brulot is planning to flood the unit.
Well, half an hour, I'm gonna let that loose be in the homeland.
What's going on? No?
Oh shit! There he goes! Yeah! There goes now!
The punishment for flooding out will be more time in solitary. Inmates in solitary are deprived of all physical contact. But they've found ways of reaching one another when the officers aren't looking. They call this fishing. Prisoners use threads from their sheets to send contraband from cell to cell. The solitary unit has its own underground economy. The packages contain messages, drugs, and razor blades.
Another day on the job.
Another day on the job.
Barely a day goes by in the solitary unit without an inmate self-harming.
It's a real cleanup race.
And when they do, other prisoners are paid to clean up the mess.
We probably average about 20 of these a month, so. Yeah, in the last year I've become an expert on blood, I guess.
It doesn't just mop up, does it?
No, it doesn't. It coagulates, and it's generally I try to saturate it with a germicide, and then I use a sheet to mop it up, and then afterwards I try to scrub it down. My heart goes out to everybody down here. I've been behind these doors, so I know what it's like to stay down here for years. You know, being behind these walls, they get to everybody, and everybody deals with it in their own particular way. As you can imagine, someone being 17, 18 years old in a setting like this, you know, it's not really, it does a lot with your mind.
I cut because it's my only way to escape. Obviously, being locked up, you don't have control of nothing. And cutting myself makes me feel in control.
Sam Cason is a regular visitor to the solitary unit and a prolific cutter. He's been in and out of prison his whole adult life. When his previous sentence ended, he was released from solitary straight to the street.
I tried to tell my mom and everybody I didn't want anybody around, and tried explaining why. When I got released, I got home, there was 5 people there, and I felt like there was 5,000 people there. Ultimately, for my first couple months, I pretty much locked myself in my camper until My mom and everybody told me, tried to explain to me I'm not in prison. I shouldn't live like that. I ultimately tried to force myself to live like I was still in sec because I didn't know what to do. I went from the most restrictive place I've ever been to no restrictions at all. And ultimately I ended up shooting somebody and coming back.
Do you think your time in seg had made you more dangerous?
Yeah.
Stephen Kirkley has become a frequent cutter since coming to Solitary. He's due to be released from prison in just 4 months. Now the warden has decided on a radical step to try to improve his behavior before he's set free. He's moved him to the prison's mental health wing.
I don't understand why they put me over there. I don't have mental health issues.
The king has land.
I don't want to be over there. I'm gonna get even. I'm gonna probably board up again, make them come in and get me.
The mental health wing is a very different place from the Solitary unit. Most of the inmates here have serious mental illnesses. Many have come from Solitary. Prison psychologist Dr. Dan Banish runs the wing.
That's a good one.
Really?
It's different. It's instead of the depressing clank of the prison, they're trying to create something a little different. Every breath, every movement, every person, everything in there is clinical. There isn't a non-clinical thing we do. Everything is geared towards skill development, relationship building, appropriate interactions.
Keep one more. Good game.
So everything about it is becoming social. They're used to coming from environments where people hurt each other and are antisocial, and this is a whole buildup of how you relate to people, and you have to practice it every single day.
Dr. Banish will now try to prepare Stephen Kirkley for his imminent release.
I'm worried about you, the future Mr. Kirkley, out here. Your life post this is what matters. So that's what I want to work with you on. That's what I like to hold the people accountable for. Saying, I want to see a plan for this, man. I want to see it work.
I'm done with all that. To be honest, I don't care about none of that.
Then where are you going to go?
Because I'm gonna do my own thing.
But what is that? You're going to walk out the door to what?
I'm gonna walk out the door. And I'm gonna fucking pick up some cocaine and I'm gonna fucking stand on the corner and I'm gonna hustle.
So then you're gonna be, it's like being here.
That's all I know how to do. That's what I was brought up to do. That's all I know how to do.
And that's so that basically says you're gonna live your life in here.
If that's what it is, because
no, not if it is. That's what it is.
Nobody's helping me though.
I'm about to try to get a plan because right now you got nothing. In all honesty, Mr. Kirkley, all the stuff that's happening now is like white noise. The big thing is April. He walks out the door. If he starts on day one out the door, picking up your first rock, doing the stuff, we're back to you might as well stay. I might as well just give you a gun because I mean everybody's got one within a day.
Shit, I got a couple buried.
Yeah, I figured, you know, and I'm trying to be kind on this. So where are you going to actually physically going to be in April? Where are you going to get your money? You know how to get money, but it's not to be the one that's. Well, that's part of the problem. The number one factor that brings people back to prison, you know what it is? Peers. If you're going to hang around with a bad group, you're coming back. If you hang around with a bad group, you're going to stay. And you'll all be back here together. And then when you're 45, you're going to be looking back, like I said, and say, man, that was probably not a good idea. I'm going to tell you what you'll be thinking at 45, even though you don't believe it. Okay? So I find myself lecturing. It's not anything but, you know.
It helps though.
Well, I mean, a lot of people tell me to shut up, so I'll leave it.
I can honestly say, like, out of everybody I talk to in here, though, you're the smartest. Your lectures are good. It's not just, it doesn't go in one ear and out the other. Like, I could probably say you're probably one of the only people that cares, though.
Well, I do. I don't think I'm the only one, but I do care. I don't like the fact that you would be sent out to nothing. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of taxpayer dollars. It's a waste of a human being. And it doesn't mean giving you everything either. It means setting things up so you have a chance to succeed. Right now, just to let you go, hoping. All right? All right, take care, Mr. Kirkley. I need to get the guy out.
The warden's effort to help Kirkley has created a new problem back on the solitary unit. The other inmates think prisoners who self-harm are getting preferential treatment.
Soon. I need some cookies and milk.
Peter Gibbs is now threatening to start cutting himself if he doesn't get the prison transfer he wants.
This is what I have to start doing. People have done stuff. They've gotten rewarded for it. I sit in my cell, I mind my own business, but there's no rewards.
Hey, Gibbs!
Gibbs is not the only inmate causing trouble.
Hey, how you feeling about not getting that meeting today?
After a year in solitary, Gordon Perry is also running out of patience.
He told me the same thing. He was going to see me this week.
If I don't get some answers by 3 o'clock, I'm covering my window. And if I don't get good enough answers, they're extracting me.
It'll be a miracle if I don't get extracted today.
It's unreal how they force people's hands here.
I want to give them a little bit more time because when I cover that window, I'm serious. This ain't my first rodeo. I got a pretty good setup, and we're gonna fucking hopefully fight the team.
Come and get me.
Now the warden and his staff have to talk down two of the most dangerous inmates in the unit.
The only way you ever get anything around here is to act up. I sit back being good for a year, ain't fucking working. All I'm getting smoke blowing up my fucking ass every which way I look.
This is going to disqualify you from going in action. If you do this kind of shit, it's not going to happen.
Of course it's gonna happen. I've seen him make deals like left and right with people for putting this fucking shit up in the window.
You got a couple of assaults in 17 years. How hard is it to move me? So I gotta be out of here pretty soon.
Because of what you've done here, we're going to move you out very slowly. What I need to know is when I move you out there, are you going to be safe?
Am I gonna be safe?
I need to know that the other inmates are going to be safe as well.
It ain't happened. You guys got me down here for a year. I'm all set with the stabbings. I'm ready to go out and try to enjoy myself a little bit.
I'm willing to look at moving you along, but it's going to be a while. We got to work the process, and I'm not interested in burying you.
I'm already buried though. I already been down here a year.
I want to be maced.
I won't mace you, Gibbs.
I need to be maced.
You don't need to be maced.
I have to be.
No, you don't. There's no reason for this
If I cut
shit.
up, will you mace me?
No, there's no reason for any of that stuff.
You can't give me a little blast, like a little,
No,
just a
I'm
burst?
not going to give you a blast, right? I understand you're frustrated.
No, you
okay?
don't understand.
I do. We had that
You have
conversation.
no clue.
Don't think it's lost on me that you're locked in a box for 23 hours
I
a
don't
day.
care about that. This is like being, this to me is nothing. That's what's so sad about segregation,
Yeah?
is after years and years and years, you become retarded to it.
You're
Yeah,
smarter
I'm all
than that.
fucked up.
Yeah, but you're smarter than that, Gibbs.
I'm fucked up from it.
You're smarter than that.
Okay, so we'll evaluate it, and we'll look at moving you along. And we'll talk next week, okay? Okay. Have a good weekend.
I can't even get fucking maced in this place. Thousand.
Adam Brulot thought he could cope with solitary.
101 roulette.
But after 6 weeks, his mental state is deteriorating fast. Last night, he covered his window and got extracted from his cell.
Mr. Brulot, how are you feeling today? That's good to hear.
All I really want to do is go to school and not go to CPOD.
He's due to be released from prison in 4 months and is increasingly anxious about what he's going to do on the outside. He's desperate to take the basic education exam, called the GED, to give himself a chance of getting a job when he's released.
I want you guys to know I need fucking shit to do. I need to go to school. Okay. And I want my GED. That's all I ask.
Okay.
I'm not gonna go out there and scram for another job, selling drugs and shit, because I don't have no education.
I told you at your door yesterday, give me a shot. Give me a chance. If I fill you full of shit, then you do what you think you gotta do, okay? And we'll do what we gotta do. We'll do our best to get you the help you need, but I need you to do your part. You need to keep your head screwed on straight, okay?
I got one for you, Kirkley, and Griffin. I'm gonna each give you something to do. I think you're gonna enjoy this. Now we're at the puzzles time. Oh my God.
Back in the mental health unit, Dr. Banish is setting the inmates puzzles. It's part of the therapy designed to constructively engage the prisoners.
You see how enjoyable these guys are? They don't want to be grumpy. They don't want to be upset. They want contact that's meaningful. There we go. This is a good one. No conferring with each other either. We'll see if you got that by Monday.
Without taking the pen from the paper. So you can't take it.
So the idea is to see if there's a way to keep mental health in their cell without having to be there. And so that we use a transitional object, something that represents me. If you notice, I didn't just hand them pieces of paper. I made contact with each of them and reconnected with them, engaged with them, and then I'll be there to follow up with this piece, and they'll be all excited especially if they've accomplished this thing. The other thing that they're unaware of, the actual thing that they're working on has clinical component attached to it that I'll be then using the next time I meet them. Because it has literally, the solution has to do with other ways of looking at problems.
That's another big hint I gave you.
Really? Oh, all right.
So, you gotta give me another big hint.
It's very healthy to struggle. There's nothing wrong with struggle. And that's why it's a struggle. I don't mind sitting in a struggle for a while.
I like the challenge, but I also like the cheat, man.
Stephen Kirkley used to be the most disruptive inmate in solitary. Since Dr. Banish started working with him, his behavior has improved.
I'd like to figure out my own. It's a challenge. I don't like, that's why I do the New York Times crossword puzzles. Sometimes it takes me hours, but when you finally get it, it feels good. Did you ever do the New York Times crossword?
I do everything. Everything
really?
That's a challenge I like to do. I told you I like to cheat though, so.
I walked into that one, so, okay. Sometimes you just have to think outside of yourself. Huge clue. Huge clue.
Hey!
Mr. White!
We can't just bury these guys. As a psychologist, I'm looking into what's effective. What works? Why do we keep doing things that don't work or make things worse? Why don't we figure something else out? So every time I meet with him, it's much more of an uplifting kind of thing. We'll goof with each other, and he knows it's I'm not there to judge him. And I don't have him just as being this nasty kid, but I also know that he doesn't want to end up where he knows he's going to end up. He's a kid.
Well, my fault would be trying to go by the rules. I don't have too much open-mindedness for the rules in here.
And tell us why. There's always a reason, so let us know.
Obviously, because I'm a criminal and I don't like the rules that you guys have.
Besides that, we don't want to make...
After more than a year in solitary, Gordon Perry is out of his cell. The last time he was in a room with other prisoners, he stabbed one with a screwdriver. Now he's joined a new program being offered to inmates in the segregation unit.
All you have to do is make the choice at the time that something is presented to you. Am I gonna push poop on my window? Am I gonna cut myself?
Prisoners are asked to talk honestly about how they make decisions. The weekly classes are supposed to help them become less violent. Adam Brulot is doing the program too.
If I show pride, I try to go like too far, and I start to get hard-headed.
Doing what everybody wants.
I'm like, oh yeah, I'll be so much cooler if I break this guy's eye socket.
If your pride's good, if you don't back down on shit, people are gonna give you respect, so that's a positive of that.
All right, what's the negative with the pride?
Oh, if you're a bitch and people are gonna treat you like a bitch, so then you don't get no respect.
But that's no pride. Let's talk about actually having pride.
Oh, the negative of it? Coming to SMU because you gotta bang somebody out because they put you in that situation.
That program is bullshit. Everybody knows it. I don't even want to do this program. I just want to get out of SEG.
Do you want to change?
Change for what? What do you... Change into what? I'm here forever. There's nothing for me to change. I'm a criminal. I mean, I'm not going to jump on the other side or anything, so I am what I am. I think my character's pretty good overall. You know, unless you're my enemy, it's pretty good, I think. So that program has nothing for me.
Most of the inmates in the solitary unit think the new classes are a waste of time. But the warden is encouraging them all to take part and work their way back into the prison's general population.
What we're looking for, as we're doing this programming, is that we see a difference. We see a slow, incremental shift.
When you initiate these kind of programs, you get resistance across the board. Okay, it's not only the inmates that are resisting us right now. We still have some staff that really don't believe that this stuff is going to work. I've seen it work. I'm an absolute believer in it working.
Everything just went downhill from being no trouble at all inmate to all of a sudden just going right to the bottom of the ladder.
Most people would say, well, you know, these people need to come into prison and they need to be punished. The punishment, for the most part, is they've lost their civil rights. I mean, they're behind these walls. Once we get them behind these walls, it is our job to rehabilitate them so they can become successful, productive citizens in the community. If we truly rehabilitate the inmates, when we put them into society, we will create less victims. And ultimately, that's the goal.
They moved him.
Leaving in 4.5 months, but put me on the fucking bottom of the list.
They didn't
Don't freak out.
They didn't come
There's
down.
little evidence that the classes are improving Brulot's behavior.
You're gonna be getting.
He's angry that he still hasn't been able to take his GED exam.
You're gonna be getting your GED, okay?
Well, I want to fucking do some testing tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Let's snap.
You know what? That's a legitimate request. But you snapping isn't gonna get it to you. Give me a shot at trying to fucking help you out with the GED gig.
Yeah, that's been 2 weeks. This close.
Okay.
I'm fucking close.
Okay.
fucking believe in nothing. Big house of love.
With no more information about his exam, Roulotte has decided to cover his window.
You want to come out and talk, Roulette, about all the stuff that's going on?
I will after I fight.
Roulotte pushes feces under the door and threatens to cut himself next.
If we go down through it, I'd like to take a look at who we would be.
The warden has now been in the job for 6 months. He faces some tough choices.
I truly don't see him as somebody significantly mentally ill.
The longer he leaves inmates in solitary, the more disturbed they could become.
When he's completed that program, then he can go to General Pop. You know, we got to jump on a discharge.
Moving them out too soon could endanger staff and other prisoners.
Gordon Perry.
Now he's ready to take a risk with one of the prison's most dangerous inmates. If he's showing that he's behaving and do what he needs to do, we're going to move him along. At some point, you got to give somebody a second chance.
All right, let's do it.
Friday.
That's the day where it's all set in stone?
I wouldn't say it's 100% set in stone. But
Oh, you already promised me it has to be.
gonna.
You already gave me your word.
You're
Can't go
going
back.
out. You're going out. We'll get you out.
Friday morning.
Friday morning?
More than a year after he arrived, Gordon Perry is leaving solitary. He's heading for a step-down unit for prisoners transitioning out of solitary. Inmates here are allowed out of their cells for a few hours each day and required to take more classes. If Perry does well, he will eventually move to a unit with fewer restrictions.
You know, he's a very dangerous individual, but essentially I still believe that we can change him. Our obligation is to continue to provide him with the opportunity to change. I don't hesitate on that decision at all.
I'm just hanging out. That's what I'm doing. My realistic, honest plan is to live as good as I can in here. But it's a fantasy to think you're going to change somebody that doesn't want to change.
Open Alpha 210, please. Alpha 210. Did I say 211 before?
Perry is not the only inmate to leave solitary. Adam Roulotte is also being given a chance out in general population. Others follow. The number of inmates in solitary has now dropped by more than half, and the number of inmates doing programs has doubled.
Frankly, I'm absolutely convinced that what we're doing is going to work, and it is working. I can tell you that the number of fights have dropped, the number of use of weapons has dropped, transports to the emergency room have dropped. So overall, it's had a positive impact, but we're just beginning.
Listen, this is me. This is how I express myself.
Okay, so now
It's either this or this.
After 2 weeks of good behavior in the mental health unit, Stephen Kirkley has also been moved back to general population.
Yeah, no, I like you and shit, but I don't like you so fucking much that I want you coming back here and hanging out with me. You know, my whole focus...
He's been paired up with another inmate who will act as a mentor to try to keep him out of trouble.
There will be a time when you get out of here that somebody's going to hand you a blunt and say, yo, smoke up. There will be a time when someone says, hey, yo, I know how we can make a quick buck. And so what you need to do is understand, that doesn't make them pieces of shit. They're not where they need to be. They're not in a healthy place, so they got nothing to offer you. So you got to be ready in your mind, you know, to how to answer those questions right off the rip. Hey, yo, I recognize this is a test, and that I can't fall for this, you know, because I'm jeopardizing this, and this.
He's real good. He's real good. Knowing that there's people in this facility that actually care, I can't give them my back, you know what I mean? I gotta do my part, basically.
That's the difference between guys that successfully do time and guys that don't successfully do time.
Back in the segregation unit, there's a familiar face. After threatening a prison officer, Adam Brulot has been sent back to solitary.
I tried to be good and I only lasted 10 days. Done trying to be good. I'm going home in 90 days. All I have to do is 90 more and I'm done. I'm going home. Yeah, my mental health diminished. Slowly but surely. It'll do it to anybody. I lasted a while. Now I just think, fuck it. And put me in the coldest cell of this whole prison as punishment. It's supposed to be like a certain, I don't know, this is America, not Russia. This is fucking cold here.
Brulot has cut himself with a razor blade.
I'm not fucking taking medical help, Joel. I'm not gonna go. Stop! Calm down. No, I've been fucking calm. I've been asking you all day. I'm not gonna sleep in a fucking cold room.
That blood is pouring out of him in the back. You need to bring him to medical bay.
This is bullshit. They need to stop the bullshit.
Immediately.
Shouldn't have to fucking do this.
Just put him in something and bring him to medical. Redman, how do you feel?
Fucking dead. Fucking put me in some fucking ice ball.
Brulot sums up the dilemma faced by the prison. Out in the general population, he's a threat. In solitary, he gets worse.
We've seen Adam Brulot deteriorate since he arrived in SEG. From someone who'd never heard himself before, he cut up very badly, feces out of the door, did some pretty strange stuff. Was segregation the right place for a person like Adam?
Well, you just defined why we don't like to use segregation, but sometimes it's necessary. Mr. Brulot was engaged in some very, very serious behavior while he was in general population. So without a doubt, it was the right place for him.
Did he spend too long in SEG?
You know, that's a real hard question to answer. There's a lot of gray area in some of the decisions that we make. There's no exact science to any one of these guys. You have to try to figure them out as we go along. But ultimately, when we're moving him back into the general population, you know, we have to be certain that the staff are going to be safe, that the other inmates are going to be safe, and that he's going to be safe.
Before you went to SEG, did you ever imagine that you would cut yourself like that?
No. Never. I didn't even know what it was. I seen a couple people doing it, so then I started doing it.
Do you think it's changed you forever?
I don't know. I'll have to find out. I'll try to be normal again. Just the routine every day gets to you. I've been down here 4 months. I've gotten in trouble like 30 times. Been extracted umpteen times. Flooded my whole room out a couple times. Just stuff to pass the time away. And I guess they don't like that. They think I'm crazy for it. But you gotta do something.
A year after the warden arrived at the main state prison, his new regime is seeing results. Violence at the prison is falling. The number of inmates in isolation is falling. And almost uniquely for an American supermax prison, the warden remains focused on rehabilitating even his most dangerous prisoners.
It's not easy, okay? This is tough work. There are some inmates down there right now. It's going to be a long time before they make it from the segregation unit back into general population. So I do believe that segregation has a place, particularly in a supermax. But I think to keep people there and have them languish, you're making them worse, you're making them angrier. And when you do, in fact, release them to the community, the likelihood of creating more victims is increased significantly.
After filming finished, Stephen Kirkley was sent back to the segregation unit for assaulting an officer. He was ultimately released straight from solitary to the street. Adam Brulot was sent back to general population from the mental health unit. He's since been released from prison. Gordon Perry was caught with contraband and sent back to solitary. Within hours, he cut open a vein. Peter Gibbs is still in solitary.
Right on the edge of having a complete nervous breakdown.
There are no plans to release him.